Welcome back to the Ochsner Andrew Sports Medicine Institute podcast studio. I'm out here in Green Bay. Mike's up there at our studio on Vets next door to our guy, Matt Bowers, state-of-the-art Ford dealership. If you're in the market for a new car, need a last-minute big gesture because you screwed something up, go buy that special someone, that Bronco or whatever they're eyeing, and get on the right side of the list. And as always, this is another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. I'm Nick Underhill. He is Mike Triplett. Let's start off with our main topic. Shea Bear Insurance, the Earhart Agency, presents this topic. Spencer Rattler talked this week. It felt like he said all the right things. If you're sitting in there listening to him, if you're watching the stream of it, if you're catching the replay on our YouTube channel, it felt like he said everything that needed to be said to build confidence going into this Monday night game against Green Bay. But it is a Monday night game against Green Bay. It's going to be really, really hard to win there, to perform there. How do you feel just kind of about him going into this game, and how do you feel about kind of where his mind's at heading into this Packers game?
Yeah, I like where his mind is at, and he definitely truly has confidence. I believe that he does. We saw it in the Washington game. I mean, we were texting at halftime, and I said, I don't know if I'd put Rattler in down 17-0. That's a disservice to him. He hasn't practiced all week, and now they're going to be teeing off on him. And he handled that situation great. So why wouldn't he handle this situation great? I think last week's performance gives him confidence. There were a couple things, though. One, he did admit that, when he was talking about why we shouldn't judge him by the 3 starts previously, he admitted there was some shell shock. He used the word shell shock coming in, going right from being the third string quarterback to the first string quarterback in a matter of days. I didn't know that word was in his vocabulary. So he admitted that was part of the last thing. And this is a recipe for shell shock. I mean, there's no way around it. You can be as confident as you want. You're still going to be playing in 25, 30-degree weather on the road against one of the best teams in football that's probably going to build a lead against you, that can run the ball, you don't have Alvin Kamara, would be the ultimate safety blanket. So it is good that he has his full offensive line in front of him. But there's a reason they're 14-point underdogs. And as confident as he is, it's going to be extremely adverse circumstances. And I think they would affect anyone, much less a guy making his 4th career start.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I thought it was kind of interesting too that he talked about like how not having the offensive lineman the first 3 starts was kind of a big deal for him. How much Eric McCoy mattered to him. He'll be out there in this game, so that's something that can help. I agree. Shell shocked is a crazy word because he might be the most confident individual I've ever met. Like he carries himself just in a way. The supreme belief is kind of crazy. Because of that, I don't think the Monday night stage is going to be too big for him.
Right.
I do wonder, though, if he's going to be able to succeed in this game. Like, yeah, you got your offensive lineman back this time, but kind of as we're sitting here recording this, what I'm hearing around noon today is that MVS isn't going to play. So that could be another tough circumstance for him. He's going to still try to give it a go before the game. So we're going to see if that can kind of come through. But if he doesn't have MVS at wide receiver, you're throwing to Pettis, Kevin Austin, and Cedric Wilson and Mason Tipton, which is not a good recipe. I mean, there's not that deep bailout policy. When the bank starts going under,
Is
you
it
can
too
just
late to
throw it
bring
up.
up Equanimous St. Brown? Are they allowed
No,
to
they
do
can do
that
it
on a
today.
Monday?
No,
I would
yeah,
take him over Tipton, especially with his experience in the NFC South, to be honest.
yeah. I mean,
Or
I
the
don't know.
NFC North.
I don't know if you want that burner so you can kind of maybe have
Yeah,
like a big
that's
play
true.
threat. You kind of got, Equiminius is kind of like a carbon copy of Kevin Austin a little bit, but I mean, he could make sense. Bring them all up, like throw them
Yeah,
out there, like so you can catch passes. It's going to be a really tough circumstance. And I hate that for Rattler. I would like
yeah.
to see just like one game with one decent wide receiver and the whole offensive line. And we just aren't going to see either of that. So it is a really hard circumstance. Obviously, Alvin Kamara is not playing tonight. So now Kendrick Miller is going to have to show he can pick up a blitz and run routes and catch passes and all that. It's still not an advantageous circumstance for him, but I'm eager to see it. I mean, this is really the only reason to watch the season at this point is to see what he can do. Playoffs are done, and you got Spencer Rattler starting games. Like I hope he can do something and build some confidence today, but I think it's going to be really hard for him.
You know what's funny is, without question, we know what Clint Kubiak's going to try to do because we've seen it a million times this year, and it's Clint Kubiak's MO. He's going to want to make it be 2nd and 5 or you know, 2nd and 6, and then 3rd and 2 for Rattler. He's going to want to run the ball. He's going to want to stick with the run as long as he can, and that is the thing Kendre Miller does best. So he's going to stubbornly do that. He's going to be happy to take, you know, 10, 12 play drives. But the question is, will the game allow that to happen? And if the Saints do get down 10-0 or 14-0, I think one of the biggest flaws with Kubiak's offense is he hasn't shown a great second half adjustment until last week. They did do that when Rattler came into the game and had to throw against Washington. So that is not what they want to have to happen, but you know, maybe that'd be the best thing for Rattler is when they take the governor off.
It is snowing here right now, so we'll see how that kind of affects things. I don't think it's really going to affect the field too much. They keep the tarp on it until 90 minutes before the game, and then they take that off. And then you kind of got to have an active blizzard to have like an actual snow game, like to actually have snow on the field. And somebody told me that they heat the field here, like the surface, which Google that. Like I don't know if that's a real thing. Like I've never heard that before. I covered the Patriots for years. I know their field wasn't heated. I don't know if Green Bay's is. Like I heard that they heat the field here, like to kind of keep it from freezing over. So you got to be in like some super bad adverse conditions. I think to
Go
really have it be
Go lay
affected by it.
down there before kickoff. Lay down there before kickoff. Put your face against
They
it
do.
and
What's this?
tell
Hold on, let me
us.
see it. Let me see it.
Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Has a heated turf system to keep the grass from freezing under games. Underground coils. The system of electric coils underneath the field keeps the grass and roots at a comfortable temperature. The stadium has an 11 high efficiency condensing boilers that heat the field, melt snow, and heat other parts of the stadium. 4 pumps push fluid through the pipes under the south end zone of the field. I mean, all right,
Sounds
man.
like they're cheating, isn't it? That's worse than pumping crowd noise in.
It's like
Does Goodell know about this?
like when you go to the heated floor in the bathroom in the north, like that's living, like they're living at Lambeau.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody take care of their grass like they do either. Like we were out here for training camp, and me and DJ like stepped on the grass, and like
Yeah.
I like don't quote me on this, but like I believe like we were threatened to be killed by somebody with like a very nice accent. Like it was not a pleasant get off the grass. It was frightening.
All right, so you need to tell us before pregame what it feels like when you lay down on the grass, how warm it feels, and if they have heated toilet seats in the press box bathrooms.
It's a beautiful stadium. You've never been. Anybody that's going to this game is absolutely insane, though. I've seen some Saints fans around. I've seen some people on Twitter tell me they were out here. Like you guys are losing your mind. Like, it's insane to be out here. But yeah, we're gonna see Rattler. Yesterday there were some NFL games. A disastrous win by the Raiders. The current draft position for the Saints is 10th. And how it kind of shakes up is going to be interesting. A lot of implications on this one. This topic's presented by Urban South. If you're looking for a place to watch the game tonight, go check them out. Got a lot of beer there. Really cool atmosphere. So the Saints kind of have 3 teams within their purview. Like I don't think any of these other teams really kind of count right now. There could be one, like someone could go nuts and win 2 games in a row, but I doubt they're going to go nuts and win 2 games in a row. But the teams with 4 wins right now are Chicago, the Jets, and Carolina. The Saints have 5 going in tonight. I think best case scenario, you feel great about Spencer Rattler and they find a way to lose the game. Like that's kind of what you got to be cheering for. But I don't know if the Saints are going to be able to catch any of these teams, honestly. Like you look at it, and Chicago has a game at home against Seattle. Then they're on the road here in Green Bay. The Jets are at Buffalo, at home against Miami. Maybe they find a way to beat Miami, but that's going to be really tough for them. Carolina's at Tampa, at Atlanta. I kind of weirdly, out of the 3, feel like maybe Carolina has the best chance of winning the game. Like, because it's divisional and weird stuff happens in the division. I know the Jets got them, but I kind of have no confidence in the Jets, but maybe Aaron has a vintage game somewhere and things work out. I just don't feel great about any of these teams winning a game and helping the Saints. And then you get into the tiebreakers, and who knows how they all shake out. But even evening the score with one of them feels like a tall task right now. Plus, the Saints got Oakland or the Raiders next week.
Yeah. You do know how the tiebreakers shake out, because that is another thing that Tankathon does, is they put the strength of
Might be the best site on
scheduled
the internet.
percentage on there. Yeah, no kidding. And the Jets have a 502 strength of schedule. The Saints have a 504 strength of schedule. So there is a tiny bit of wiggle room right there. As of today, the Saints would actually lose a tiebreaker to both Carolina and the Jets too. So like in a bad way. So like they would need a 2-win differential. But if the teams on their schedule win game, I mean, it's almost impossible to figure that out. The percentages are so close. Chicago, on the other hand, if the Saints end with a tied record with Chicago, they would definitely move ahead of them. So I agree with you. I think the Saints are going to win another game too. I don't think it's going to be tonight, but maybe they'll win at home against the Raiders. I actually think the Saints could beat the Buccaneers the same way you were talking about with Carolina. I mean, we've seen that in the NFC South ever since we've both covered this team, that sometimes records don't matter and those teams take turns beating each other. The Saints beat Tampa Bay last year when Tampa Bay went on to win the division in Tampa with 2 weeks left. The flip side of this, though, is there is the only team one game back of the Saints right now is San Francisco at 6-9, and then you get into a bunch of 7 and 8 teams. So the Saints do have a little cushion there, and San Francisco's strength of schedule is way higher. So the Saints would win a tiebreaker with them. So I think the good thing is, even if the Saints win another game, I feel pretty good about them picking 10th and not. They'd have to win 2 more to plummet from 10. So at least we're pretty securely 9-10 for the Saints with very little wiggle room in either direction.
I kind of hope they win another game somewhere and still pick 10th,
Yeah.
so that we aren't sitting here in 4 weeks talking about how bad that win against the Giants was. Because like that's the one that really got away and took them out of contention. It's amazing how bad the league is this year. At some point, we're gonna have to go through and look at and see where like I believe 5 wins last year was the Giants and they picked 5th. Like this is a year where it is a really bad year to be a bad team. Like it's crazy to have 5 wins. Like the Saints could end the season with 5 wins and still pick 10th, which that seems like the worst possible luck in the world. Like they are like this team is literally cursed right now. It feels like they can't even like get being bad right. It's crazy. Like
Yeah.
I can't believe that 5 wins has you at 10. Like the other years when the Saints were picking in that like 10, 11, 12, 13, like they were 7 wins, 7. They it took being it took
Yeah.
being 500 to pick 10th, and this year you're well below 500
Well,
and you're picking
listen,
10th.
you want to hear bad? Listen to this. The Raiders beat Jacksonville yesterday. They would be at the number 1 pick slot if they had lost, and they
I
are
know.
6th instead. 1-6. I
It's
hope that win
disastrous.
was worth it.
It was not. It was the worst thing that could
And
happen,
and
though.
I actually saw people reporting on Twitter that like Mark Davis was celebrating with Antonio Pierce in the locker room, all smiles, all happy. I mean, it's so much. It's another example of how much easier it is to say, "Oh, you should want the first pick. You should just lose all your games," and how hard it is to actually lose for 3 months in a row. Like they had euphoria in their locker room as they fell from pick 1 to pick 6.
Yeah, the disconnect though, like between
Yeah.
between the locker room and like, I mean,
That was even the owner, though.
I
That was,
know
I
it's
mean,
crazy.
it's like losing is really hard for these people to suffer through.
Man, just lose one more and then get that pick and take your quarterback and sell tickets and
Yeah.
But yeah, the disconnect between that and yeah, like we say, sitting here and saying it and then living it, like they're just never going to be on the same page a lot of times. And I think the Giants right now are full on tank mode and they're all in on it. But it's very rare to see it. Tampa, the one year when they pulled their starters out at halftime against the Saints 2015 to get Jameis, or was that 14 to get Jameis in 15.
Yeah.
But you don't see it very often. Like that disconnect is very real. All right, moving on to the next topic presented by Aaron Rose. Marshon Lattimore last night gave up 5 catches for 68 yards as the nearest defender. Not a great game for him. Exits the game with a hamstring injury. Took forever getting back with the hamstring injury after he got traded from the Saints to Washington. Did the Saints press eject on Marshon Lattimore at the right time?
Absolutely, yes. The only other argument is, should they have done it sooner when he had round 1 value or high round 2 value? They tried to do that before the season. I mean, you'd have to go back a couple years because of the injury question marks with Marshon, and there was an off-season arrest with Marshon. I guess it would have been 3 years ago when you could have got a first rounder for him. So there probably was no better time to definitely get more value from him. So I think that turned out to be a great trade. Now, look, I said at the time I thought it was a great trade for Washington. I still believe that. He is an incredible talent who's still got 2 very affordable years left on his contract. If he can get healthy, if he can get motivated to play for a contender, I don't mind spending a 3rd-round draft pick on a guy like that if you're a team like Washington who has ample cap space, a team ready to contend now, and that's an affordable guy that you can add to your team. So I'm not pronouncing Marshon Lattimore dead, but yeah, the Saints, where they are, we've said this a million times. We don't think they should pay Derek Carr, Demario Davis, Cam Jordan, Tyrann Mathieu, Alvin Kamara right now. Probably like being in the middle is tough, and you know, the Saints are a team that should be selling some of their assets, and it really feels like the timing ended up working really well on that. While there still was some value, if this is how he finished the season with the Saints, and they tried to trade him in the offseason, they wouldn't get the value they got.
The Commanders, just to recap, they sent a third, a fourth, and their own 6th-round pick to the Saints for Lattimore in return, with the 5th-round pick going back to Washington. Yeah, I think, look, me and you had the conversation on the last show for the members. We do the overtime segment, answer the questions that come in during it, and one of them was kind of, just about their approach. And one of the things I said is that it's always good to kind of press eject 2 years early and let someone finish their career somewhere else. And if somebody else is getting the last value out of them, that's better than paying for years where they're chasing it and they're hurt or they're not performing as well. And I genuinely think that Lattimore might be at that place. That doesn't mean he doesn't have another good year. He never has a good game or anything. He might have 2 more good years, but I would rather be in the place where, and this is a crazy one, but like I would rather watch Derrick Henry go finish his career somewhere else than have to pay him for that. And then people say, well, why they could have just signed him to the 1 year. Generally speaking, when it's your own guys and you're not giving them the contract, they're not doing I'll sign for 1 year. That's like F you, I'm leaving and I'll go do it somewhere else.
Well, Alvin held out this summer because he wanted more of a commitment. But if that turned into a bitter divorce, he would have signed a 1 year deal with Green Bay or, you're exactly right.
What usually ends up happening is you're paying for 2 bad years to get 2 good years or something like that. And especially in the Saints situation where then they end up restructuring it. Like it's very tough to just do we'll do a 4-year deal and just pay the 2 and eject after 2 because you're going to end up restructuring it. Now you got dead money in the back half. It's just very hard to do in their circumstance. That's an example of one where it's better to be early than late, but they might have timed this just right. Like he might be in a place where he's battling like this hamstring injury now is going on, multiple years, and he came in the league with bad hamstrings. That was kind of the concern with him. They might have timed this at a very good time. And again, even if he plays well for them, I think you feel good about this deal, the timing of it, and all that. The idea of Marshon is amazing. The idea of Marshon gives you security. The reality of Marshon is that he's just not available anymore. And that's tough. Ejecting on the idea of it was a tough idea, but it was definitely the right thing to do. And I think they got out of it at the right time. All right. We're going to hear a quick word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back after this quick break. Ochsner Hospital for Orthopedics and Sports Medicine on Clearview Parkway is celebrating 5 years of exceptional achievements. The hospital's integrated team has successfully performed over 20,000 surgeries using the latest in cutting-edge technology. With nationally recognized services and impactful partnerships, they continue to lead the advancement of orthopedic and sports medicine care in our region.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodaux, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number 1. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number 1 grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. NewOrleans.Football is proudly sponsored by Urban South Brewery, the makers of Paradise Park Lager. I love supporting local breweries, and when looking for a refreshing, easy drinking beer, I always recommend Paradise Park. In fact, I think it might be the best game day beer out there. If you want something a little lighter, try Paradise Light. It's everything I love about Paradise Park with just 96 calories and 2.6 carbs. And if you're looking for a family-friendly place to watch the game, I'd recommend Urban South's Tap Room in the Lower Garden District. They've got 15 TVs, 30 unique beers on tap, and mouth-watering urban smash burgers. The whole family will want to make Urban South their new living room because at Urban South, they take laid back seriously. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans. specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart agency, your local insurance experts. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com. Welcome back to the New Orleans.Football show presented by PJ's Coffee. Tonight, Monday Night Football, Saints versus Packers.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
We got to get a little hard-hide jingle. But the hard-hide player of the game, who do you think it has to be for the Saints to have a successful performance tonight against the Packers?
Rattler's the easy answer, obviously. So I don't want to just talk about Rattler more. He was the lead of this segment. Rattler said Eric McCoy. He said he's the magic man who makes everything go. Smartest player on the team, I thought was really interesting. Said he sees everything. Their offensive line has to be really good for him to have a chance, for the run game to have a chance. But I think it's a good time to talk about Kendre, right? I mean, the Saints have to have a successful run game. So if the offensive line is not opening holes for Kendre, he's got to bring 8 guys with him and turn a 2-yard gain into an 8-yard game. He's got to be the tough runner in the conditions. He's got to be everything we've seen from him in flashes, a guy that you can just, ride him forward and he's going to carry the team on his back. And then a lot of other things, the things that have kept him off the field, pass protection, being the hot read when Spencer Rattler needs a hot read to turn around and know that they're both on the same page. Like we need to make sure he's not a liability that has to be taken off the field and put Jamal Williams on there. Like Kendre needs to be the guy who, it's an incredible opportunity for him. And it's a game where the running back is going to matter most.
That's a great one. I mean, you know where I was going with this. So I'll flip it and go to the opposite side of the ball. Take his kind of like mirrored opposite. I'll go. I think Demario Davis has a good game tonight. They got to stop the run, and if they stop the run, maybe they have a chance of winning the game. So I would put Kendre first, but I think Demario against Jacobs that's a huge one. They got to see the field well. I mean, obviously it's a total team effort, and that starts up front, but it kind of gets highlighted on him. And I think if he has a good game and is making a lot of plays, that means that they're doing their job up front and he's able to kind of flow and hit the holes and make stuff happen. But I think it's imperative for him today to show up. I would have went MVS, but like I said, it kind of sounds doubtful going into the game, but maybe that's something tough. Changes over the next couple hours. A lot of time. We're recording this at noon and, this game's 7 hours away. We've definitely heard people being out and then being able to test it before the game and miracles happen. So we'll kind of see how that goes with him. Moving on to the next one presented by Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. It's Christmas season. We got to have one little topical one. What has been the biggest Grinch of the Saints season that has prevented them from having the success that they would like to have?
You go first. I stole Kendre from you last time. I feel bad. So I'm the biggest Grinch. I forgot that anytime Kendre can be the answer to a question.
Yeah, you got to let that go. I think definitely injuries is the top tier one, and that's almost cheating a little bit. But I'm going to leave the other spaces open. I'm going to injuries on this one. You just see it tonight. You're without probably the top 3 receivers. The triage receiver that came in that looked okay, he's out. You don't have Taysom Hill. You don't have Alvin. The offensive line's been banged up. Both your corners are gone. One traded, one hurt. And Marshon would probably be hurt right now if he was still on the team. It's been devastating with that stuff. And I honestly don't think that we ever quarterbacks out too. Geez, like totally forgot him. I don't think that we ever got the true pulse, the true feel of the team because of it. And, I think that's been the biggest disappointment of the season. I wish we could run back a simulation and just kind of see what it would have been if the injuries hadn't just been so substantial in the first half of the season.
Yeah, look, I mean, we didn't just write this segment to once again come up with excuses for the Saints and talk about the injuries and say how different it could have been. But it could have been different. I mean, we've seen that with so many teams. And just to rattle down the list, we did a top 21 ranking at the beginning of the season. Number 1 was Marshon Lattimore. Number 2 was Chris Olave. Number 4 was Alvin. Number 6 was Carr. 7 McCoy. 8 Taysom Hill. 9 Paulson Adebo. Remember him? 10 Rashid Shaheed. 10 guys, like 6 of whom missed substantial time, 4 of whom who missed more than half the season. I mean, that is real. That is the absolute Grinch. The other thing, though, that I'll say is just the deterioration of the run defense. We watched the defense get old this year. I'm looking at their schedule, trying to remember. Can we point to games on the schedule that could have changed everything? And there was the Philadelphia game in week 3 where they let Saquon bust a 60-some yarder against them. There was the Atlanta game. But then I'm looking at Tampa. Oh, God, remember the Tampa game when Spencer started? And they were winning in the third quarter, and they just could not tackle Sean Tucker. And then Denver. Sean Payton comes back to the Superdome. They just don't tackle anybody that whole game. They couldn't stop Carolina. And Dennis Allen gets fired. It's like watching that defense that used to just carry this team have a long stretch of this season where they at times turned into the worst run defense in the league. They've gotten a little bit of that back, but watching this defense get old was, the injuries were the things out of their control. The defense was the thing that was within their control.
Totally agree. The D-line not being what it was supposed to be was second on my list, and then third on my list was not prioritizing the third wide receiver enough during the offseason and going into the season without a solidified plan there. And I think if they had that guy and you throw Valdez-Scantling next to him, you're probably in a better position than you are right now. But those would be the top ones for me. You got any other candidates?
No, nothing that comes off to the top of my mind. I'm trying to think. If there's anything that screams. Obviously not getting to see Alvin get to 1,000 yards right at Christmas time. That's the ultimate candidate for this, right? He's been the best thing about the season. If we were going to have a more positive tinge to Christmas topic, what was the gift they got this season? Look, that's the best thing Clint Kubiak and his staff have done too. Getting vintage Alvin back this year has been awesome to watch. It's been such a shame how much it's been wasted.
We would be remiss if I think if you were like photoshopping somebody's face onto the Grinch to represent the Saints, it would be Dennis Allen. Like we would be remiss not to at least mention him, the fired head coach within the segment. He's definitely a candidate for that one too. So, hopefully it's good vibes the rest of the way. Again, the Grinch with the heart 3 times bigger tonight is Spencer Rattler performing well and the team losing. That's what you're hoping for tonight. All the who's in Whoville will be very happy with that one.
You and Brandon will be dancing around a tree singing if they lose 38-37.
Oh man. Look, I want the better draft pick. I wanted it for a while. I'm still the Grinch of the season is that Giants win. I'm telling you, it's going to go down that way. I'm pissed about it still. I wanted the top 5 pick. I don't know if they would have got the top 5, but it would still be alive at least right now. And it practically isn't. Practically speaking, isn't right now. All right, we'll be right back after this quick break with the Martin's question of the day. Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. Services include AC and heating, service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. Martin's is your go-to destination for everything merry and bright this holiday season. From an unmatched selection of bourbon, whiskeys, and wines to gourmet food, gift baskets, and catering, Martin's has all your holiday needs covered. Family owned and operated since 1946, Martin's knows the perfect ways to celebrate this season with loved ones. Visit them in Metairie, New Orleans, or Baton Rouge, or shop online for the ultimate convenience. Whether you're raising a glass or looking for the perfect holiday gift, make it an easy and cheerful holiday with Martin's.
Score big with Saints Score. Win up to $100,000. Enter the second chance drawings for cool Saints prize packages. Play Saints Score scratch-offs from the lottery.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of stepping into your dream home. At Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, we can help make that dream a reality with a team dedicated to you. When you partner with Jefferson Financial, you do so for the life of the loan. Having a single point of contact when questions arise is invaluable. Our experts are here to guide you every step of the way. There's no better time to invest in your future. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing lender.
Whether you are a local New Orleanian or a fan in town for the game, get your pre- and post-game fired up at Aaron Rose. Local chaos and local love for the black and gold. Wake up and live with daily drink specials, mimosas, screwdrivers, Bloody Marys, and hot or frozen Irish coffees, all just $3 or $4 between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Aaron Rose, half a block from Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, 811 Conti Street.
Here at the Queen Casino, indulgence knows no bounds. Prepare your taste buds for an extraordinary culinary journey. Start your day at Capital Coffee. Craving something different? Three Walks Noodle Bar offers a tantalizing selection of Asian delights. At 1717 Kitchen and Cocktails, savor American cuisine with a twist. Or ascend to the loft for an elevated experience. Enjoy artesian grazing boards and exquisite craft cocktails. Join us at the Queen Casino. Your royal adventure awaits.
Welcome back to the NewOrleans.Football show presented by PJ's Coffee. Heading into tonight's game against the Green Bay Packers. We'll see what they can do against them. It's time now for the Martin's question of the day. The Saints' recent draft problems, are they due to scouting or coaches developing players?
It's a very fair question, especially in the wake of Zach Bond and Trey Hendrickson turning into two of the best players in the NFL. Caden Ellis had a good game yesterday. He sort of qualifies for that too. There was not a long history of this in New Orleans, and there wasn't a long history under Dennis Allen of guys who went on to thrive elsewhere after they weren't used as well in New Orleans. But now all of a sudden that is stacking on top of him. 1, 2, 3. I can't wait till Isaiah Foskey makes his first Pro Bowl for the Tennessee Titans 2 years from now. So the answer to the question is yes, we should blame both sides. If Zach Bond hit in New Orleans, and Trey Hendrickson hit in New Orleans, and Caden Ellis hit in New Orleans, we wouldn't be hammering away at the scouting staff and the missed draft picks as much as we have. The other thing I blame in this equation is whether it's Mickey Loomis or whether it's an agreement between Mickey Loomis and Jeff Ireland and Kai Harley, and Dennis Allen, this idea that, hey, let's turn 8 draft picks into 5 every year. That has really hurt this team because they've missed so much in recent years. So, but the thing that has hurt most is of course first round picks, and they missed on Peyton Turner. They missed on Trevor Penning. They used 2 on Marcus Davenport. Cesar Ruiz has been okay. Brian Brzee has been pretty good. That's probably a good pick at that time. But we don't know if that's coaching or if that's scouting. They need all pros and Pro Bowlers on this team, and they haven't drafted one of those in a long, long time.
Yeah, I think it's the coaching element, not identifying that Zach Bond's a useful player. They did identify Ellis and let him go, and he was a useful player. And then the Ellis thing was also kind of a cap decision. They didn't want to spend the money to retain him. He got a little too expensive. So I think that even factors into it. Is just the cost of trying to get cheaper at certain spots. They backed themselves into some corners, and it's always hard to identify. We always view a cap casualty as somebody where it's like, well, they cut him because they couldn't afford him. But also just refusing to pay people a certain amount and trying to get younger at certain positions. Like there's other ways to get the cap decisions that aren't necessarily in your face, super obvious. And, I think some of those are too. I think it's a little bit of everything that's led to it. It's missed draft picks. It's misidentifying talent in your building. It's not coaching people in the positions to where they can succeed sometimes. It's being forced to kind of allow some people to walk that maybe you wouldn't if you were in a healthier situation. But, it's funny, like those guys, if you just looked at this whole entire team and you add Trey Hendrickson to the defense and you add Zach Bond to the defense and you add this version of Caden Ellis to the defense, you feel like, well, okay, like they might not be a playoff team, but there's a young core there to build around. There's some good players. And you don't have any of that. So I think it's a little bit of everything. It is. It's a cornucopia of crap that's kind of got them into this spot. I don't think you end up in the spot without making a lot of bad decisions, mistakes, and the injuries help to accelerate it into an undeniable place where you can't talk your way around it anymore.
It's interesting because defensive line is just, if you're going to go down the defensive line and answer this question, you're going to say coaching. Like, they haven't gotten anything out of Peyton Turner. They didn't think they needed Trey Hendrickson. They didn't get enough out of Marcus Davenport. They haven't gotten anything out of Isaiah Foskey. But linebacker is a little bit interesting. I agree that they've made some cap decisions, but they've spent probably as much or more on linebackers as anyone in the league. They just spent it on Demario Davis and Pete Werner, and they said we didn't have room for Zach Bond and Caden Ellis since they only played 2 linebackers. So I kind of wonder where the blame falls on choosing Werner and Davis over Bond. And I mean, they could have afforded Bond; he didn't cost anything. So
I'd say they misidentified Bond, and they didn't want to pay. They didn't want to pay that. I heard, like, what I was hearing, they didn't want to pay the Caden Ellis price. There was a price, and they didn't want to pay the Caden Ellis price. Like
because he would have been their third linebacker, but behind Davis and Werner. It's like they chose Davis and Werner, and there was no room to pay anyone else. It seems.
Well, I mean, they had money to pay Willie Gay. Like, I think if you have the money and you're in a healthier cap situation, you just spend the money. Yeah. It's not like you got paid like a gross sum of cash. Like. Right. I think their investment there is probably pretty similar too. And then you're in the draft again on that. You could be drafting another position. You could have, your future succession plan, but just kind of the way they do things, it doesn't really allow for like, okay, we're going to move out this, this guy for somebody else at some point. We're going to cut bait. We're going to move on. We're going to do, there's not even like the graceful transition. But yeah, I mean, look, it's everything. It's kind of everything. Like, and that's what needs to happen with this team, is a great reset. And we're going to talk about that for the next 6 months.
Hopefully we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're going to see the great reset, or at least a pretty good reset. I mean, it's going to start with a new head coach. We know that. So at least something is going to change around here more drastically than we've seen in a long time, but hopefully more to come too.
All right, that's going to do it for us on this show. We are not going to do a show on Wednesday because it is Christmas. And
Merry Christmas, everyone.
We're going to do all that. We're going to celebrate our Christmas. Mike, if we don't get back from Green Bay, if we get like snowed in, my family's gifts are in the studio behind my house. You're going to have to go deliver them.
They're in the studio?
Yeah, the studio behind my house. Yeah.
I still have that key in my car. I can get in there anytime. What? You got good stuff in there? I can go in there right now.
Nothing for you. Nothing for you. All right. That's going to do it for us on the show. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll have all your coverage after the game written, and then we'll be back with another show on Friday to get you ready for the Raiders game.